do you look down on, and who do you look up to? Hi, I'm Kayla Swanson, and I'm your host of High Performance Salon Academy's Profitable Salon Owner podcast, and I have a great conversation for you today. And for that conversation to join me is the CEO of High Performance Salon Academy, Jason Everett. What's up, Jason?
Yeah. Oh, man, this is a good one. I know as soon as you say, who do you look down on? People are like, what do you mean look down on? I don't look down on anybody,
You
but
love everyone.
that's the subject today, because whether you say you do or not, you probably do. And I think that's a big topic for today.
I love the fact, like, in the reframe of what we're going to go today and having that conversation. I love when we can dip our toes into your mindset and your perspective as you were raising your salon, because there's people who are doing better than you, people who are doing worse than you in your own mind, and having that conversation today of like, how are you frame your own self and how you view other people, good or bad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Yes. Nice.
This all stemmed from a conversation I had with somebody. It's a friend of mine I've been bragging on the last couple of days, because I saw him post this on Instagram, and man, when you have people who brag for things, I want to have more friends that I want to brag on behalf of my friends. Does that make sense? Like, I want to say it's cool for me to know these people, and I'm proud of them, and I'm excited for them. And this is my buddy. He's exited a couple pretty large companies, and he's running some great things. And then I just saw the other day, he posted this whole post about it, and he said, hey, somebody came to me a couple years ago and said you should do this thing, and it scared me, and I laughed about it. And I said, there's no way I would ever do it. And they said I should buy a professional sports team. And I'm like, that's big time, right? That's like Mark Cuban, Shark Tank status. Like, that's next level, right?
Yeah.
And it's ironic that I'm doing it today, because I actually, the first time I went and hung out with him was 4 years ago to this day of the recording of this podcast. I hung out with him four years ago today. I flew down to Huntington Beach, had lunch with him and a couple other really insane entrepreneurs, this beautiful spot, and we just had some really great conversations. And he said this actually on that day 4 years ago is when we talked about it. I said, I was talking about, man, I really look up to you. I just want to say thanks for like having this meeting and like meeting with me. And he said, Jason, don't ever look up to somebody, because it implies that you're beneath that person you're looking up to. And I was like, oh man, that's so good, right? It's so good. And anyway, but this guy said, because I'm gonna tell you why I was proud of this guy recently. I was very proud of him because he just posted this last week on social media, and that he's in the middle of purchasing. I don't know if it was done or not yet, but he's purchasing an NHL team called the Anaheim Ducks, which is a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah,
like pretty big deal. Like it's a Mark Cuban sort of deal.
Sports
he's purchasing this whole sports team called the Anaheim Ducks, and I was like, that's an incredible accomplishment, right? So he's buying the sports team. And anyway, I learned a lot from this guy about looking up to people and like, who do you aspire to be? And I texted him after I saw on Instagram that he was buying the Anaheim Ducks, and I was like, man, like, thanks for raising the bar for the rest of us. I appreciate it. And he was like, man, thank you. That means the world. And like, he's just one of the most humble people I've ever met, who just is like really a servant-minded giver, who just is always willing to like add some advice and just help anybody out. And he helps lots of people. Not just his closest friends. And I just think that's something I aspire to be. And I would say the term I look up to, but I would say it's somebody that's aspirational in my sphere. And I do believe that like what makes him a very inspirational person, not for me to look up to, for me to aspire to be more like, is that because he makes you feel like it's possible for you to do it too. And I think that's the piece for me, is like, I want other people to feel like, man, if Jason can do it, so could I. If Kayla can do it, so could I. If all these people are doing it, they're just normal mortal human beings that have the same hiccups and issues and problems that I do. I could probably do what they're doing. Yeah. I think that's an important part of our conversation today, of looking up to or looking down on, is like, just look aside. We're all human beings. Like, we all breathe the same air and came out of the same, other human being's body that put us on this earth. We're like, yep, we're here. We're all here. We all get to breathe air and live the human experience. So let's make that a part of our reality.
Yeah. I mean, we've had conversations before about like healthy competition in terms of like just creating a culture where like we're all rising together. We're all in the same playing field. We all have the same capabilities of achieving things that we really, really want when you put your mind towards it. And just because somebody else has something that you don't feel like you can have or you don't have yet, it doesn't make them higher than you. It just means that they found the tactics to go and get it, and you can too.
Yeah, they've chosen to spend their time doing something else that you've not chosen to do. Like, for example, if you can play guitar and I can't, you've chosen to spend your time playing guitar. Well, what have I done during that time where you learned to play guitar? I'm sure I was doing something. Was I like watching, was I playing video games or watching Netflix or whatever? Like, if you were taking that time to play the guitar, same for me, is like, my guess is what he spends his time on his workday is different than what I spend my time on my workday. That's why our incomes are drastically different. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean he gets more hours in the day. It doesn't mean he has greater advantages. Like, he came from an immigrant family that, started with relatively nothing and made something for himself. And I'm like, I think that's a
Yeah.
really powerful thing to look at, what are the values of people's family systems and all that stuff. And like, there's plenty of people who would say that could be an excuse to come from, oh, I didn't come from very much, and I just didn't have a leg up like other people did. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes that makes us look at people or their situations differently, depending on what they had or didn't have, or what you have or don't. But I think you as an individual can still succeed regardless of what you've been given or not.
Yes, I agreed with that. So when people who are listening to this and as they have that mindset and they're doing the work in order to start to shift that mindset, what would you say to that on like wherever they're at, whether they're like, oh, I have, I'm halfway there, or no, I'm definitely not, or they have
Mm-hmm.
people right now that are thinking of like, oh yeah, I really look up to that person. What practices can they start to put into place, start to change their mindset around how they view other people, both good and bad in their life?
Yeah, I think I said this to my boys the other day. We were having a conversation. I like some lessons to my sons if I can drop them out there. And we were talking about things. I said, boys, there will always be somebody who has more money than you, and there will always be somebody who has less money than you. And it's hard because if you see those people who have more money more money than you as better than you, then you start to judge yourself very harshly. And if you see yourself above the people that have less money than you, then that's a problem too. And so I think the first step is acknowledging, like, this might seem a little basic, but acknowledging that you're running your own race against yourself instead of against others.
Hmm.
And very often on social media, when people are blasting it with all of their, happy moments, sometimes they're dead on the inside. Like, if you look at somebody's social media, they're all like, look at me, I'm here. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, and they were talking about their ex, and they were like, oh my gosh, my ex is posting all these happy pictures and photos and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I think it's because they're actually really struggling on the inside. They're really struggling. They're looking for the outside validation of somebody saying, wow, that looks fun. Right. And like, they are actually having a hard time. And so when you look at that, you got to ask yourself in that context is, what is it that I need to be doing right now to better my best?
Hmm.
What can I do to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday? Like I asked a question in my daily gratitude that was like, how can I be better than I was yesterday? Like, what can I do? What can I do? And if you ask that question, how can I be better than I was yesterday? Then all of a sudden you've got a very different plan of attack on a plan of attack for what you deserve to be working on and working towards, instead of
Yeah.
just going like, okay, I'm going to exist again today. Like, no, how can you do something a little better than yesterday? And if I've done this before, what can I do to make an improvement? Tony Robbins calls it CAN, constant and never ending improvement, right?
Hmm.
Constant, never ending improvement. And that's the idea, is that you're constantly saying, how can I do a little bit better what I did yesterday? And can I do that 1% better every single day? Because if you do
Yeah.
that 1% better every day, at the end of the year, you're 360 degrees back around, and you're at a complete 180 or you're at a complete different person 1 year
Yeah.
cycle forward.
It's almost like when, you see people achieving things that have been like, oh, I wish I had that. Be like, oh man, look how cool that they're achieving the things that they want and they're going after it to inspire you to go after the things that you want. Because it's not about picking up what everybody else has. It's about, what do you want at the end of the day? What is your dreams? What are you aspiring to be? Whether it's your salon, your personal life, whatever that is for you, you
Mm-hmm.
have your own hopes and dreams. And if you don't, where did they die somewhere? Where did you stop pursuing them? And find out where those are. And if you need to create new ones to have things to dream for, if you're being inspired by other people who are achieving the things that they want, pick up that inspiration and go back to achieving the things that you want and take that inspiration there, instead of being like, oh, that person has it, I could never have it. Like, that's just such a spiral. And the
Yeah.
mindset of, man, I can do that too. And what are your dreams?
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
So here's another really good one I'll give you, Kayla, is how do you borrow other people's confidence? Okay.
Love
Is
that.
that, I've talked about this before, and like, this is a friend of mine named Todd Herman wrote a book called The Alter Ego Effect. And he talks
Huh.
about borrowed confidence. And in borrowed confidence, they've done studies with children, and they've proven when they sit down to do a math problem, they will work on it for a few minutes, and if they can't solve the problem, they'll give up. But if they give the child a Batman cape, and they're like, how would Batman solve this? Or how would Wonder Woman solve this? Or how would Spider-Man? Or how would whatever superhero you want to think of, right? How would that superhero solve it? And they put the cape on the kid, and the kid will try like 10 times harder, and they'll sit and work on it even longer if they act like Batman or they act like Wonder Woman or Supergirl or whatever the thing is, right? And the deal is you're borrowing confidence from an ideal person because, you know, Batman or Wonder Woman doesn't really exist. They're just an idea of somebody. But you're like, how would Wonder Woman attack this task? And they're like, well, she would do this, and she would be resourceful, and she would try and figure it out, and she wouldn't quit, and she would whatever. And you're like trying on somebody else's confidence temporarily. But by trying on somebody else's confidence, that becomes your confidence, right? And so what's beautiful about borrowing confidence from others, and this is where the academy really plays out in a big way, is we were just talking about this. We were talking about in our elite program for our salons to do over $2 million a year. We have a bunch of salons in there, and I had a guest speaker who came in, a friend of mine named Jeff Maines, and he's exited like $240 million worth of companies, and he's just crazy good dude. And he wrote this book called The Captain's Keys, if you want to get it, Jeff Maines. And he's got some great stuff. But he was talking about as people create all of this confidence and as people create these opportunities, that so many people need to be around people they can borrow confidence from in order to then also be confident. You have to see other people winning, other people winning, other people winning. You're like, well, it must be inevitable. Then I should just win. If I'm around all these people that are winning, like I should be the other one that wins. And so he said, you've got to find yourself a community of people. And again, that's where the community works so well for the academy, is surround yourself by a community of people where they're all supporting each other. And that's what Shelby Bills, one of our mentors, she's like, wow, I just realized all these people you said I need to have on this list, I have in the High Performance Salon Academy. Like, who do you call when things are tough and you need some help? Who do you call when you want to run ideas by somebody? Who do you call when you need a swift kick in the ass? Who do you call when you need some love and encouragement? She's like, man, all those people that were on this list, he gave us a list of all these people. She was like, all those people are in the High Performance Salon Academy for me. They're people that I could call with a phone call and get on the phone with some of the best people in the world who would kick my ass and move me in the right direction and either give me a pat on the back or a swift kick, and I'm good to go. And I think that idea of borrowing confidence from an alter ego, like a superhero style confidence, or from another person, is what often can get people off the ground that have been stuck for a while.
Yeah, man. And if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I think I have that community of people, then that's a good place to start. Think of the people who are in your life. Are they honest with you?
Build one or find one.
Exactly. Find that community that's going to come alongside you and kind of be that. And don't find people who also want to look down and look up. You know, you want to find those people that are motivating in their own way, chasing their own dreams, and like, let's do this together, which, like you said, Jason, is a great example of the academy, is because it's that healthy like collaboration when we're like, we're all chasing the same thing, but in our own way, and not like, I'm trying to be better than you. And so find the people who make you feel that way, that inspire you to chase those dreams because they're chasing their own dreams. And I love that concept of that borrowed confidence. That's cool. I'm gonna tuck that one in for myself.
Yeah, feel free to borrow some of that confidence. Well, you know, Kayla, if you're in the office, like we kind of have a running joke. I know it's been in the office before. Like I should get a shirt made that says, you know, approach with confidence, because the idea of like, I sit on confidence. And by the way, that confidence for me is borrowed from other people. Like it's borrowed from the future version of me that I hope figured it out. I'm pretty sure the future version of me will figure it out. So I'm just going forward confidently, even if I'm wrong. And we've talked about this before, is like, sometimes people are like, Jason, you seem very confident. And like, do you know what the outcome is? I'm like, no, I just know that we'll figure it out. And then people are like, well, how can you be confident if you don't know? I'm like, that's all I have to go on is borrowed confidence. And if I'm borrowing it from my future self, I'm borrowing it from another person, borrowing it from somebody else says you can do it. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're asking for people's opinions. We're trying to borrow their confidence. Like if you ask your spouse, do you think I should do this? You're trying to borrow their confidence. And they go, yeah, I think you should. You're like, great. I'm glad you believe in me. Now I can do it.
Yeah. Now you just,
right?
having that one conversation.
Confidence.
Yeah. Which makes it different when you're going into things. Like what's the opposite of not having confidence? If you choose not that route, then you're just going to spiral into it, not feel possible. And like we have this program called LVMP. One of the things that they talk about is before you even do something, just say yes, as if it's already come to fruition, if it's already happened. Like physically get excited for the outcome of it being possible, even if you don't know if it's possible, because preemptively believing that it is. And I can tell this firsthand in our job constantly. I'm like, I don't know how it's going to come together. And it always does. Honestly,
it always does.
It's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
and that technique, she said the LVMP program is called the Little Voice Mastery Program, right? Little Voice Mastery Program is designed to help you override your little voice, because your little voice is the single source of that will kill and crush your dreams because your lack of confidence. And if you
Mm,
can get yourself into a place that you can exude confidence in what you're doing, even when you're not sure of the outcome.
yeah.
And by the way, the definition of the word confidence, if I can give it to you, the definition of confidence means knowing the outcome in advance. That's actually from Little Voice Mastery.
Wow.
Knowing the outcome in advance. And the idea is like, well, I know the outcome in advance, but how could you know the outcome if you've never done it before? Well, it means you know the outcome will be favorable. Okay, well, that's a good way to define that outcome. And then you can take a step forward and make that happen. I think it's brilliant.
Are you still guessing what your color services are actually costing you? Guessing the cost of your services is eating into your profits. With Salon Scale, you can separate your parts from your labor and charge for every drop of color used. Stop letting your back bar drain your earnings. Click the link in the description to get 10% off of your first year or start your free trial today. Salon Scale. Profit starts with every mix.
Yeah, just even believing it's possible. Like that's a big like back of when you start that mindset of having that confidence and you see it start to play out and things start to change. Like even start with small things and start to see that experience of like, I know that this is going to come out. This is going to work out. And even if it doesn't work out in the way that you think it should, believing that the outcome of anything is a positive. Like you can take it and be like, okay, well, if it's not a lesson, then it's a learn, and trying to get in that mindset of like, it's a positive thing. Like, okay, this didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. What learn can I take from this to continue moving forward? A lot of people just kind of let things sweep them out from their feet and be like, well, I'm done because I tried and it didn't work. And so it's not for me. I'm not capable of that. And then you stay stuck there and then you get held back and you're plateauing in your salon and you're not able to accomplish the things that you want because somewhere along the lines you got discouraged by an outcome and a missed expectation that you set on something that wasn't even realistic in the first place. And then you kind of go back there. So go find where you dropped it, go pick it back up and give it that confidence to be like, you know what? It was just that moment. It wasn't this isn't an eternal defining moment for me. It was just that moment that something it missed an expectation, but still the outcome, a lot of things that when I'm like, oh, that wasn't how I wanted it to go, ended up going better, even if I didn't see it in that moment. To go back there.
Well said.
So good. Nice, man. Was so good. So when people, when they're working towards that, what are some tools? And like, I know you have a plethora of tools in terms of like routines and things, a way to look at their life. Like Little Voice Mastery has a ton in and of itself of things that people can take away from this to start implementing to get themselves back to that place.
Yeah, back to that place. I'm trying to make sure I got the question 100%. Is back to the place of confidence or back to the place of looking at themselves above or below?
I guess back to that. Like, yeah, how do they get them back to the place of moving forward without looking at other people that both like encourage their like tear them down? Like, if they're looking at other people and other people's lives and their success, how do they put on new glasses to see the world differently?
Yeah. So, again, comparison will crush you more than anything else. I think that's where we live in this world of people being like crushed. Like, we live in this, like, we've all seen those videos of like the filter, no filter reality of people. Like, here's the, like, I'm a guy, so I don't get the luxury of adding makeup, right? Like I don't get to like fake a face for a night out and then put my non-makeup back on. Like I don't get to do that. So it's kind of a funny thing, but like the closest experience I've ever had to that is like, putting on one of those old man filters or the beard or no beard filter. That's probably the weirdest one. It's like the no beard filter for Jason.
Oh my goodness.
You put that on, I'm like, oh my God, I look like a baby. Right? It's like, it's just this very awkward video. I'm like, no, I remember that guy. I met him. Prior to having a beard, I remember what that guy looked
There's
like.
There's some old content of that guy back somewhere.
There's some content. You really want to find, you could search really want to find the no beard Jason version. But I think it's that idea of really, number one is eliminating the idea that you're competing against others and understand that we're all on a journey, which is easy to say, is hard to do. But you get to say, I'm going to write down my number and say, what's the next version that I can do? What was my income last year? Can I make more income this year? What was the highest performance metric I've ever hit here? What can I do to make that better? And there's a phrase that came up a long time ago that I used when I came off stage. Is I'd come off stage and people would say, man, I really want to do what you just did. Like I want to do, or they said, I want to do what you do. Jason, I want to do what you do. And I said, well, cool. Do you want to do what I just did? Or do you want to do what it took me to get there? Because those are not the same things, right? It's like the ability for me to stand on stage and talk for that length of time means I've done thousands and thousands of classes, sometimes to no people, sometimes to one person, sometimes to dozens, sometimes to thousands and up to 10,000 people, right? And so the idea of what that potentially is for the average person, they don't understand what's required of them to be there. And so
Yeah.
instead of looking up to that person that like you don't get to see their entire path. Like I was looking at this thing the other day and it was like most people see option A and option B. Do you want to be where you are or where this other person is? And they're like, actually, there's 1,000 different points between A and B that you just didn't see because, I was somebody different 5 years ago than I am today drastically. And the people's like, they say, try to make it so that you have to reintroduce yourself at least every 3 months. Like, Kayla, you've known me for years and years now, right? But if there's somebody that hasn't known me for the last 3 years, I would have to reintroduce myself because I'm at a totally different level than I was 3 years ago.
Opening a new salon or remodeling? Feeling overwhelmed? We've got you. At Collins, we custom build salon equipment made just for you in Tennessee, with local reps and designers to guide you from layout to delivery. Explore at collins.co/HPSA.
Completely.
Like the leader
Yes.
I was then, the owner I was then, like that was a glimmer of who I am today. Like I was still in there, but I'm a
Yeah.
much better version today than I was 3 years ago, and a much better version I was 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago. And I think that's the reality is I want to make a better version of myself because I'm making that 1% correction every single day. So number one, be mindful of who you're looking up to, who you're paying attention to. I think that's a big part of it, and eliminate the competitive part of it. I think number two is like get yourself in a spot where you're just looking to make incremental changes. How do I better my best from before? Is how do I just get an incremental change to be able to make that? And number three, in that same framework, I think, Kayla, of like what are the steps you can take to kind of take action on it, is start celebrating the hell out of other people, regardless of where they are. Because at the beginning of this podcast, you said, who do you look down on? Well, I don't really want to look down on anybody. Like that was part of that. Just, what people do is look down on others. But I would go find somebody else that is where you used to be and help lift them up, help encourage them. Can you just be their advocate? And I'll say it this way. This was also on Jeff's class today, so credit to Jeff Maines on this one. But he reminded me of a Zig Ziglar quote that is a very profound quote, and he said, when you need a friend and you're looking for friends, friends can be scarce. But if you need a friend and you become a friend, then friends are abundant. Some version of that quote. And the idea is that if you need somebody in that moment, it might be hard to find that person. But if you be a friend for another person, you will get a friend back in return, right? And the idea is if you need somebody who's celebrating you and in your corner and your cheerleader and your like number one fan, you might look around and be like, hey, there's nobody cheering me on. I was watching this video the other day and it said, the highest level would be like Beatles level. I'm like, what do you mean Beatles level? And they're like, you get off a plane and there's thousands of screaming fans chanting your name. They're like, Jason. And I'm like, oh, that's Beatles level. You get off the plane, they're like, ah! All these people, these women are screaming. Guys are like, oh my God. Like that's Beatles level, right? And I was like, that's a good analogy. Is like, if I want that type of support around me, who am I that type of support for? And I'm like, wow. Who am I cheering on? Like, am I cheering you on, Kayla? Am I cheering Rhiannon on? Am I cheering Lobo on? Am I cheering our clients on? Like, who am I in their corner? Like, F yeah. Like, I want you to win, man. I want you to win. I want you to do incredible stuff. I want to cheer for you. I just want to like lose my mind and like be excited for people. And like, some people think I'm crazy. Sometimes I'm in that mode, but I'm like, dude, I'm cheering them on because I want them to win. And that's why I'm excited about my friend who's buying the Ducks, right? Because I'm like, dude, I'm cheering you on. I don't care. I just want to cheer you on because that's who I am, and I want to be a part of that.
Ready to transform your business and improve your salon's profitability? With Lonza's 3-in-1 technology and intermixable shades, your hair color inventory is streamlined with limitless creativity behind the chair. Click the link below to unveil the secret to salon success.
Yeah. And like I had this really big distinction. We were on our last award show. I don't know if I've said this to you at the award show, this last one or the one before. But I want to tell you a deep, dark Jason secret. Is that okay?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right.
Leaning in.
I have won some awards in my past for some like acting skills. That's kind of it. But I've never won a business award. I've never won a ultimate achiever, whatever in business. Nobody's ever said like, I've never been like awarded the world's best speaker I've never won any fucking trophies or anything like that for what I've done. I mean, I've done some cool stuff. But nobody's ever recognized me with a trophy. Do you know how many trophies I've given away? Hundreds of trophies. hundreds of trophies, and because you order them, right? But like we've given away hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trophies. Like I'm just saying because it gets me all fired up. I love that I've given away hundreds of trophies. And I say it's the team. It's not just me. It's like that, it's a whole,
right, but still,
group. I'm just saying, like I said, let's give away trophies, and now we give away trophies, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that makes me happier to have given away hundreds of trophies than any trophy I could ever earn on my own. If I earn a trophy for being like the coolest business coach somewhere, cool. All right. And I'd love to earn a trophy. It's not like I would never like to get one. But I'm just saying, like, what's better? Giving away hundreds of trophies or getting a trophy?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's where, as leaders, it gets very lonely, is you're like, instead of trying to worry about where could you be recognized for your great accomplishments, could you just recognize other people for theirs?
Yeah. Man, that's so good. And then going back to the person who bought the ducks, like he is that person. He embodies that person that celebrates others and lifts others up and like is constantly just sharing with other people. And you create that energy around you. And now he's freaking buying a whole sports team because of where that's at. And it's building. Man, what a great conversation this has been. Thank you, everybody who's joined us for this podcast. I always love when we go a little personal development style and dive into the heart and the mindset, because we all know that building a business is partly your business and partly your mindset. And so thank you, Jason. Gotta have both. And you got to work on both on a regular basis. You can't have one without the other. They both coexist in order to have the fulfillment that you want in your own personal life, not just in your business. So thank you, Jason, for this great conversation. Hope you guys got a lot out of it. If you want to reach out or have any more information on the Academy or anything like that, please reach out to us. There's a number in the description. You can always text us. We'd love to hear from you. And great podcast. We'll see you next time on the Profitable Salon podcast. Thanks, Jason.
See you guys.
Nice. Oh my God, where'd my mouse go? Where the fuck's my mouse? Okay, hold on and stop.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.